This video is sponsored by PCBWay. Welcome everyone. In this video I'm going to show you this new gadget I built, which is a digital light meter for analog cameras. This device is specifically designed for analog cameras without a light meter. You can just place it in their cold shoe mount and use it. Simple. So I designed this roughly 50 by 25 mm PCB for this project. It does not have too many components, and the circuit itself is also very simple. The rounded traces, the rounded corners, and the mounting holes make the PCB more presentable and usable. The backside of the PCB only has two parts, both of them are connectors. Plus, I added some information to the board. The information from the light meter will be displayed on this 0.91 inch OLED display. It's small in size, yet large enough to show all the information needed. The display is connected to the circuit by a header on the backside of the PCB. It is important to double check the pins of the display, because they might have different order than the one I used for this board. The circuit is battery operated, and I chose this tiny 150 mAh lithium battery with a JST connector. The circuit can operate long enough with this battery before it needs to be recharged. I designed a custom enclosure for the PCB because I want to turn it into a semi-professional product and perhaps sell it in the future. The front side has a small hole for the sensor, and I designed it to have a small recess to avoid excess shadowing and similar disturbances. The recess also controls the field of view of the sensor to some extent. The inside is carefully designed so it fits the PCB nicely. The holes on the sides are carefully positioned to accommodate the navigation switch and the USB-C connector. The backside has a cutout for the OLED display and 4 holes for the bolts that hold the shell together. The backside also has a hole at its bottom that accommodates a 1/4 inch threaded insert nut. Later on, this will allow us to mount it on a camera's cold shoe mount. The small adapter makes it basically universal, so I did not need to overthink the design too much. To be able to proceed further, let's build the circuit. Now the circuit is done, and I decided to enter PCBWay's 8 project design contest with it. If you have a similar project that you feel like showcasing, please visit PCBWay's website and enter their contest. The deadline is quite far away, so maybe you can come up with a project today. They offer different topics and the prices are quite attractive. Or, if you don't feel like competing, just check out their services for your next project, whether it is something PCB related or something else such as 3D printing or metalworking. I've been using their PCB related services for several years and never had an issue with speed and quality, so I highly recommend it. The circuit is based on the TSL2591 light meter chip, which is in the center of the PCB. I made a video about this chip recently, please check it for more information. The other key part is the CH32 V006 F8P6 microcontroller chip. This controls and reads the light meter chip, and then it performs the calculations and prints all the information on the OLED display. The chip is programmable via the exposed SWIO pin at the top of the PCB. The circuit is fed from a lithium battery, and this requires a battery management chip, which is the MCP7381T chip. This chip also controls the charging. The output voltage of the battery is then regulated down to 3.3 volt. This is done by the LP5907MFX low dropout regulator. This is necessary because the light meter chip is not 5 volt tolerant. It is also worth mentioning that the output voltage of the battery is monitored by the microcontroller through a voltage divider and a filter circuit. This allows us to see when the battery needs charging. The charging is done through a power-only USB-C connector. Finally, the navigation and adjustment of the parameters are done with a 3-way navigation switch, which is on the side of the PCB. The switch can be familiar to you if you had an MP3 player in the early 2000s. I actually made 10 of these boards and planning to sell most of them, so if you are interested, drop me a message via my website. They are not super expensive, especially if you compare their price to those on the market. During production, I decided to further improve the design of the shell. I added some skirts to the mating sides of the enclosure so they can click together. This is just a small but neat modification. I also slightly changed the recess around the sensor, but again, this is nothing extraordinary. The shell is held together with screws, so I had to use some insert nuts. I used tiny ones, only 3.5 mm in diameter and 4 mm height with an M2 thread. The corresponding screws are not much larger either. They are M2 hex screws with about 7.3 mm total length. I carefully designed the holes on the front panel for the insert nuts so they can be inserted easily. There is not too much excess plastic pushed down by the nut, so when the nut is fully inserted, there is no excess molten plastic that could flow back and fill up the threads. Been there, done that. The results look smooth, the nuts seem to fit well. The PCB still sits well in the enclosure, and as you can see, the threads align perfectly with the holes. The back side of the shell also needs an insert nut. This is the earlier mentioned 1/4 inch nut for the cold shoe attachment. This also sits well in its designated place, and there is no excess plastic destroying the threads. Before encapsulating the device in its shell, let me show you something regarding its power consumption. I have already programmed the microcontroller, and I assembled the circuit so that the power from the battery is fed through a multimeter that is set up in current measurement mode, so we can see the current draw of the device during its operation. I only need to attach the clip to the battery's negative side to close the circuit and start the measurement. As you can see, nothing happens right after I close the circuit, but this is because I added a 10 seconds delay to the code before it starts to initialize. Then a brief welcome message shows up and the program proceeds to the main screen. Here I entered to editing mode, so the device won't fall asleep. We can see a fluctuating current consumption around 10 mA. This fluctuation is caused by the light sensor being turned on and off between measurements and the OLED display being updated. But let's just say that during operation, the device consumes roughly 10 mA. So with the full battery and a good margin, that's 12 hours of continuous operation. When the device is not in editing mode, the display is not updated so frequently, so the consumption is nearly 30% lower. Then, if we stop interacting with the device, it goes to sleep mode. The consumption becomes roughly 70 microamps, so if the device is always off, you will need to recharge it after roughly 10 weeks. Or if you bring it out for taking pictures occasionally, you can use it for about 2 weeks before it needs to be recharged. Since the battery is a small capacity battery, it takes less than an hour to recharge it. Just grab any USB-C charger and it's done in no time. Now let's assemble the enclosure. The 10-second program delay I mentioned earlier becomes useful now. It is easier to attach the battery without the display being in the way. However, if the program initializes without the display being connected, the display won't be initialized. So the user has 10 seconds to attach the display after connecting the battery to the circuit. Then the assembly can proceed. To demonstrate how the device would look on a camera, here is a nice looking analog camera that I use as a model for now. The cold shoe mount fits well in the camera's cold shoe mount. The light meter is not super bulky and it does not protrude towards the back of the camera, so it does not disturb the user when they try to look through the viewfinder. The light meter is not too large when it is sitting on the camera. It could be slimmer maybe, but it is a trade-off between simplicity and size as always. So let's go through the functions of the device. The main display shows the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO values as adjustable values. Then it shows the EV value, the lux value, and the percentage of the battery, which is estimated based on its output voltage. The user can navigate between the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO values using the navigation button. When an item is selected, as it is the case now, a hash symbol appears in front of it. During this scenario, the device does not fall asleep. In edit mode, the user can navigate through the pre-programmed standard values. Pressing the navigation switch again saves the value and the user can navigate between the 3 values again. When the device is in navigation mode, a small arrow indicates the position of the navigation. The device works both in aperture priority and shutter speed priority modes. The priority depends on the most recently modified value. If the user just changed the shutter speed value becomes fixed, and the program automatically recalculates the aperture value. The calculation is further based on the ISO and the amount of measured light. Similarly, if the user just modified the aperture value, the shutter speed gets adjusted accordingly. The ISO value can be modified, but there is no auto ISO mode implemented, because for analog cameras it would not make sense, and digital cameras don't need this light meter anyway. If I release the device by entering navigation mode, the device shuts down in 30 seconds. The user is briefly noticed about the sleeping mode before the device finally goes asleep. We can see that the device is at 65% charge level. Let's charge it a bit. During charging, the charge level is invalid because the voltage is influenced by the charging voltage. To give a precise percentage level during charging would involve things that are too complex for this type of circuit, and probably no one is interested in getting a precise charge status of this device during charging. After just a few minutes, the device gained nearly 15% of charge. It's good enough for a photo walk. Of course, the device would be worthless without proving that it works, so I did a short photo walk at home. I attached the device to my mirrorless camera. I mounted a manual lens to it, and I also put the device in manual mode so I can control everything. The concept was simple. I used the parameters of the light meter on the camera and snap a picture with it. Then we can see if a picture is underexposed, overexposed, or it is normal. The first picture is an area on my workbench. It is a tiny touch too bright maybe, but it is nothing that cannot be fixed in post-production. Then I took a few steps back. This picture is maybe a bit on the darker side, but I think it can be explained by the overhead light. It probably biased the metering a bit too much, so it recommended a faster shutter speed than needed. But it is still an acceptable picture. Then let's look at my 3D printers. It is in a dark corner, so we need a longer shutter speed, but the picture turned out to be fine. Finally, an even darker area with some plants. This picture is also fine. So let's say that the device received a passing mark from me. As usual, I put a lot of resources in the article on my website, so please check the description and visit my website. Furthermore, I shared the project on my PCBWay project page, and as I mentioned, I decided to participate in their 8th project design contest. If you like the project, please go and leave a vote for me. Thank you. Also, if you like these kind of projects and you want to help me to keep them coming, please consider becoming a supporter by becoming a channel member. I hope you like this video, I hope you learned something, and see you in the next video.